everybody, and welcome to Film Freaks Television. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and I'm here with...
Paul A Presenza, otherwise known as the Moo Cow Moo.
All right, and we got a special guest here.
Joe Boyd.
All right, and Joe's never been on any of our shows before. This is his first time, and we decided to...
New blood.
Yes, fresh blood. And we decided that for that, we would make sure that, well... We were gonna bring you in on a horror film thing, but then I was like, we need to do a Film Freaks anyway, and I love Donnie Darko, and I did not know you actually liked it.
Great movie.
And you were obviously almost everybody I know is a fan except my dad. My dad didn't like the time travel stuff, but understandable. But anyway, we watched Donnie Darko as was here, and Donnie, so, okay, what do you...
We actually saw it in the future, and then we time traveled back.
Yeah, we woke up...
Through the portals coming out of our chest, as you do.
As it just is normal, right?
Fortunately, in our universe in the future, Jenna Malone is perfectly good to go.
Frank told us to watch it.
Yeah. Frank told us to watch it.
Frank.
He made us do it. All right, so to begin with, when was the first time you watched this? Do you remember, when it first came out?
Well, yeah, when it first came out, I saw it in the theaters, and then I watched it a couple of times again afterwards. But it's been a while, so it's been at least 5 years, probably a little bit longer since I'd seen it. Yeah, and in fact, I didn't even know that it had come out on Blu-ray, and I was hoping, and actually possibly even assuming, that it would be a movie that Criterion would release, because it seems like it's the kind of film that Criterion would, and if anyone was going to release it on Blu-ray, it would be Criterion, but it turns out it was Arrow. So thank you, Arrow. We appreciate it.
We appreciate it. What about you? Do you remember the first time you saw it?
Yeah, I think the first time I saw it, I was a lot younger. I was an angsty teenager that felt like I was relating to Donnie Darko and kind of the anger towards family and the world and all that kind of stuff. And
so you could relate.
This family sucks!
So first time I watched it, it was a while back, but I liked it.
Good. Yeah, I saw it in the, because I used to work at a video store, and in 2001, when this movie came out, I worked at a video store, and I was like, oh, what's this Donnie Darko movie? Because I didn't see it in the theater. It didn't have I don't think it had a huge theatrical run, so you must have saw it at a smaller theater or something. Not
it was one of our regular theaters. I don't remember it being out for very long.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, I don't remember it being in theaters.
Because
not a very sexy movie.
Yeah, and it's not told in a very straight linear fashion. It's very ambiguous, and it's not a happy ending. So
yeah, a lot of people won't like it for that, for a lot of reasons of I don't understand this. It's weird. And I, when I first saw it, I dug that.
Yeah, it's a really good example of non-linear storytelling, which is pretty cool. It's just, it is open to debate as to what exactly is going on, which is cool. I like that. It's not very straightforward.
Exactly.
And we all have our own little theories about what's going on.
Maybe
is it a dream? Is it not a dream?
Mine.
What?
I'm still trying to figure out my own theory over here.
It's one of those movies that makes you think.
Yeah, I think the whole thing is a dream by the bunny.
Dream by the actual Frank, or the actual bunny?
There's a bunny someplace in the universe that dreamed the whole thing up.
I don't believe that, but well, let's get into the story. Okay, let's talk about the story.
That's up to you, my friend.
All right, I'll start breaking it down. So basically, it starts off with Donnie Darko waking up and looking at the mountains and stuff, and he's just very confused as how he got there. Obviously, I guess he slept biked because he was on a bicycle. So I don't know. It was weird.
As you do.
So he slept biked. He biked himself back to the house, and we sort of get, from the very beginning, we sort of get a what is it? Foreshadowing of all these different characters we're gonna meet. I think you even see in the beginning of the movie, see the red guy with the jogging clothes, the fat guy that he says or whatever. So you see that. You see the red car that ends up becoming a big part of it. That was Frank's car. You see all of these different things. See the father, the daughter, their relationship. And then you go into the house and you see it say, "Where's Donnie?" So Donnie obviously wasn't awake when wasn't there when everybody else was awake. So, the next that night, they're having dinner. They're talking about the political discussions of our time, and and the mother and son later get into a fight about Donnie Darko gets into a fight with his mother. Everybody loves that I've ever watched the movie with. Everybody loves the dinner scene with the fuck ass. Just typical family situations, right?
Go suck a fuck.
Go suck a fuck.
Classic.
How does one suck a fuck? I never figured that out. Because he was all ears, wasn't that Ross Perot was all ears?
Yeah.
And everything. So it was
giant sucking sound.
I don't know. So it was 1988 that this movie was supposed to take place in. And then basically the mother and son have a discussion about his pills, and he gets all upset about it, and calls her a bitch when she leaves. And you can, I really like Donnie because in Jake Gyllenhaal, who played Donnie, because when he called her a bitch, you could see that look of I feel terrible for saying that. Oh man, I hope she didn't hear me. That just those looks in his eyes, said it all right there. You said you've seen October Sky, right?
Oh yeah.
You're a big fan of October Sky, right?
Yep.
Do you remember that movie?
Mm-hmm.
And it was a fucking fantastic movie. I had to watch it for school.
Yeah.
Back in 98 or whenever it came out, 99.
Jake Gyllenhaal's
The title is an anagram for the title of the book it's based on, Rocket Boys.
Oh.
October Sky, Rocket Boys.
Oh, did not know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, but it's a great great movie. And I was always wondering what October Sky meant. I don't think they ever explained that in there.
Yeah.
So good. But that was a good movie, and then later he did this, which is more independent, and it was the movie that got him sort of on the right path to becoming a star. October Sky helped. Then Jake went on to do this, and then he went to do was it
Day After Tomorrow?
The Good Girl, Day After Tomorrow, all these different things, and kind of became this huge, star. So
I think
still
they wanted
doing
him
stuff.
to play Batman at one point. He turned it down.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Oh God, I hope it's not. I hope it wasn't when he would have been with his sister. That would have been awkward.
Yeah.
Couldn't have hired her to replace Katie Holmes, or whatever. Anyway, so then there's Donnie Darko is he's just a normal kid at school. And he goes outside, or he goes to dream.
I wouldn't call him a normal kid at school. He's pretty abnormal.
He's a little weird. He's a little off. A little awkward.
Dark.
What?
A little dark.
Kinda. I don't think he's dark necessarily.
He's not quite emo, but
he's not. He's
not
just a little
normal.
weird, and he's a little awkward. And but anyway, he's in his bed, and the big some voice calls out to him to come downstairs. Goes downstairs out of the house. He talks to his giant bunny rabbit.
As you do.
Frank. And Frank tells him that in 28 days, 14 hours, or whatever, 16 hours, whatever it was, and that kind of stuff.
12 seconds.
12 seconds. You're all gonna, the world's gonna end. And he says, "Why?" I love that. I love that line. And then the thing falls down. The jet engine falls into his room, and his sister's coming home. His father's passed out watching the political debates and stuff. And then the jet engine, destroys his room. He's alive. And I have this theory that it's an alternate reality, that this none of this happened, but this would have been what happened had he just gotten up and left, gotten up and got out. Because it kind of shows you, in a way, what, life would have been like had somebody survived something traumatic. He would have people would have, other people would have had different lives.
So you're saying this is like an occurrence at Owl Creek Ridge where he, just before he's about to be hung, he has this hallucination of everything, of him escaping and getting away and living his life and doing all this stuff. And then abruptly it the rope snaps and he dies. And just jerked back into reality. So
Spoiler alert! I didn't see that movie. So
no, it's not a movie. It's a
book.
It's a famous story.
Okay, I guess so. Yeah, that's what I think. That's my theory. Now, you have theory that it's just a dream, and or whatever.
Well,
and
no, I was teasing you with the just a dream thing. Yeah. I can see the alternate reality. I think I personally see it a little differently. To me, it seems like he, for whatever reason, and I'm going to blame the drugs, is allowing him to sort of get these premonitions, into the future. But because he's such an unreliable narrator, he can't understand it, and he's only able to sort of understand it by using bits and pieces that he already knows about. And so he has to reconstruct his own reality in his head, and that's what we're seeing up until the last part, when... ironically, what he sees actually comes to pass.
Right.
The problem with that explanation, of course, is that, psychoanalytic drugs don't allow you to see the future, but you never really know. I mean, who knows? Reality is a flat circle, as Russ from True Detective would like to remind everyone.
Well, how many times have we in life had something where we missed... like we stepped out of the way and something like almost fell on us or something. It's happened to me before.
Not jet engines, but
not jet engines, but like something could have like seriously injured or killed us.
Sure.
And it didn't because we just stepped out of the way, or we
even just mildly
something
inconvenienced us.
Yeah, something like that. And this, and just thinking about, oh crap, what if I had been 2 seconds late on thinking I'm going to move over here? I would have been crushed and killed.
Yeah, and it all sort of, in a very strange way, addresses sort of how you see the universe. Mm-hmm. Because, if you're a steady state universe person, then you think that the universe will continue to expand and continue to expand and continue to expand, and everything happens only happens once. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you don't believe that, if you think that space is finite and eventually it's going to collapse upon itself, then it's just going to happen over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And if that's the case, who knows? Maybe somehow he was able to see what's going to happen, because it's going to happen over and over and over and over again. It's just that you don't really know how he was able to do that. So, it all kind of depends on how you view the universe.
It seemed almost like the Frank character knew it was going to happen too at the end, when they show him touching his eye, knowing that he's going to get a bullet in the eye, but he doesn't know that yet, but he's touching it like he can feel the future. And, just sitting there with this kind of like upset look in his face, almost as if he knows that he's doomed to this future. But so that kind of struck me, just thinking, does he also know? Is Donnie the only one seeing the future?
Well, are you talking about at the end or
at the end?
At the end. Well, at the end he won't have been shot.
Yeah, because
Donnie
touch his eye.
Right, yeah.
Like he felt it like in another
life. That's
but
interesting.
Yeah, so somehow, whatever happens, however he's able to see the future or have this premonition, he's able to change it. Mm-hmm. Because clearly, Jenna Malone's character does not die. She dies in the vision thing that he was having, but towards the end, not only does she not die, she doesn't even know who the hell these people are.
Yeah, she doesn't know who Donnie is, and that was... sort of him being a superhero in a way of like making it so she never knew who he was. He saved her life by never existing in her mind.
So I guess the difference between your theory and my theory is that I guess you're saying his character makes a conscious choice to accept the change that's going to come by allowing himself to be sacrificed.
Yes.
Okay, I see.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Like, he actually... Like, because you see him smiling and laughing at the end when he's laying in bed, and then the jet engine falls on him, or whatever. And it was sort of like he was just like, happy. Like, I've now saved everybody's life.
The only problem I have with that is if he makes his conscious decision, then he's kind of going against what he's been saying the whole time, which is that he's going to end up dying alone, which is the thing he hates and fears.
But see, he was smiling and laughing about it, which meant that he was fine with it at the end. He was okay with dying alone. That was like, he finally, like, his character came to this, like, thing where he was afraid and this was what he was the most scared about. But then when it came down to it and he had done everything he could, he time traveled or whatever in his mind, he survived, and he's sitting there going, you know what? Let it happen. Like, I'm going to die, and then all of this, they're never, none of this is none of this is gonna matter anymore. People will miss me, but like, that's it.
What did you do with the girl corpse?
What, he left her. He had her in the car.
So you just left her in the car while the jet engine comes down?
Well, no, because that never happened.
That doesn't happen, but until the engine comes and hits her.
Yeah,
But
and it hits
before
him.
that, what happened to it?
Well, no, because remember he went up to the cliff or whatever. He went up to the mountain with her, and he watched the portal happen, and then all of a sudden, it just switched time back, right? So in his alternate reality, he was actually time traveling.
So he left her up there.
Well, no, he didn't leave her. No, that never happened. None of this happened.
Well, but before that portal opened, he had to have it somewhere. It was somewhere.
It was in his car, yeah.
Okay, so then he did. He left her in the car then.
I mean, he didn't leave her. He was with her.
So does he know that that's what's going to happen? That it's going to change?
See, this is where it gets all complicated because
how does he know that?
I don't know.
If he does know that, maybe that's why he becomes okay with it and when he's laying there laughing in the end, knowing he's going to die alone instead of being upset about it. Because he's got some form of like acceptance that he's not going to be able to change. It's going to happen how it's going to happen.
He just has no idea and it doesn't matter and he doesn't care anymore. That seems a little bit more, I think, in line with maybe what would happen, rather than him saying that he actually makes a conscious decision. I think he, at that point, no longer cares. And he's just going to go with whatever happens. He's just kind of surrendered himself. Yeah.
That's probably it. I don't know. It's so confusing. It's hard to say how exactly, because, and this goes into the conversation of the movie, is that there's, like, the debate about, like, religious shit in the movie, right? If we're traveling in God's channel, blah, 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 right? Well, that one teacher doesn't believe in God. He's an atheist teacher, you can tell.
There's lots of allusions to the story of Jesus in it. Like when they show in the movies that are showing, it says the last temptation of Jesus Christ right before Donnie's last temptation to go and burn down the house. And then, of course, he dies to save everybody else, which is the story of Jesus. But, So
are you saying Donnie Darko is Jesus?
I think that there's a lot of things in the movie that allude to him being a superhero of sort. I mean, he puts the axe in they mention that it's solid bronze. He's extra smart.
And the bunny is the savior.
Yeah, now, if Jesus had gone and burned down a kiddie porn person's house, I might be more down with that.
Right.
Jesus,
I think it's
get
purposeful
on that.
When they mention, like, that axe, it's in solid bronze. Like, no human should be able to do that, but the Donnie Darko...
Bronze isn't that stuff, I guess.
Yeah, all that stuff, like, that was... I mean, but that meant that he was kind of superhuman.
There's a lot of stuff, and we talked about that it seemed like there were things being done and things that were being said that made it feel very contrived. And that's why it felt like a dream sequence, because there's stuff going on that's had little minor inconsistencies.
Well, also, there was things that were just obviously there to move Donnie Darko's visions and things forward. Mm-hmm. So, like, the doctor, you were like... The doctor wouldn't say certain stuff. Dr. Thurman says certain stuff in it. Like, there was one long, like, monologue she gave where all of a sudden she was, like, saying, if the world opened up, there would be no, chaos. There'd be... And we're, like, thinking...
what doctor says that?
And we're thinking, like, wait, what? If the sky opened up, like, there would be,
Which is, of course, exactly what happens.
Right. Exactly. But, like... She was saying something to him that would make something that moved the plot along,
right.
But it really didn't make any sense for what.
There's other stuff that's planted in there, like the fat guy in the jogging suit that just kind of pops in there, and it's very Kubrickian in that he's fucking with your sense of narrative structure and reality, so that you're questioning what it is that you're seeing.
The spears going through everybody and following the liquid spears. I mean, and then it leads up to a gun. The gun that saves, that later on he uses to shoot the guy in the eye. Like it's all like set up to become this big thing, and to have the ending be that he dies alone and he dies like the one. That was his greatest fear.
Yeah.
Fear and what?
Love.
That's like the whole message of the whole movie was Fear and Love, which
It's
drove
on
me
the line.
crazy.
It's on the line. You have to put it on the line.
I told you that was my favorite scene, just because he told her. Well, we didn't see it. I kind of wish we did. I wish they filmed that, as an extra or something.
It's interesting to try and reconcile within the movie the things that, like, on one hand would seem like a dream-like thing that couldn't happen, but on the other hand, it is happening. Like, for example, the spear is coming out of him and everyone else. But then, of course, that is in the actual book, in the movie that he finds.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of stuff where you don't think it's real, but then it does happen. Like going to the gun, Frank being a real person, him really getting shot in the eye. I mean, the jet engine really falling, everyone else seeing it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's tough to, you just have to, like, pick between, was he a paranoid schizophrenic hallucinating, or is this how reality happened?
The thing is that when a paranoid schizophrenic hallucinates, generally speaking, they're not seeing what's going to actually happen before it happens.
Yeah.
Right. Generally speaking.
Well, and nobody else should be able to see it too. But they were also seeing.
But then that's our perception. We don't really know, because everybody's reality is kind of dependent on your own individual perception. So, who's to say that a paranoid schizophrenic can't actually see into the future? And that's why I looked at the drugs as a possible answer, that it was allowing him to do this, but because he's so fractured by his mental state that he can't really put stuff together in a way, and that this is the best way that he could construct it, using the clues that he's been given.
Yeah, I would love to listen to the commentary track some more and see if because I know they did the director's cut, but the director's cut
I heard it wasn't good.
No, and my only problem with the director's cut was it sort of showed too much, and maybe that was his point, was he wanted to actually show people whatever Richard Kelly wanted to do. But, like, the problem with that is, like, show not tell, is sort of the point. But, like, sometimes less is more.
Sure, it's the kiddies of the world who insist on, I want to see exactly what happened. You have to tell me exactly what's going on.
And I kind of like, as Hitchcock calls it, like icebox talk, where you go to icebox and you're chatting about the movie you just watched, or whatever, because you're so like, wow, I can't believe that happened.
Jonathan, sometimes I question your commitment to sparkle motion.
Sometimes I question it too, man. That was you said that was your favorite line.
It is, just the way she said it was just so like, oh, Karen, do you have any idea what you sound like right now?
Was it, or Kitty?
Well, I know, but she was such a Karen at the term hadn't been invented yet, but she was.
Which is funny, because there was Drew Barrymore played a Karen, or her name was a Karen, and she was not a Karen at all. She cared,
Seeing this movie made me miss her even more.
Yeah, well, she's not dead.
No, I know. But you don't get to see her much anymore.
I see her all the time. You just don't watch the movies that she's in.
It's got Adam Sandler in it.
Anyway, what is it? Drew Barrymore was so great. Like, you were saying, that scene in where she's like, sitting next to the boy you think is the cutest, and you're like, Jesus Christ, no pressure, lady.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
It's kind of fucked up. Did you ever have a teacher like that?
I don't think so. No, it's kind of quite an absurd thing to say, I feel.
Well, and of course she ends up sitting next to him, so that's one of the things you got to think is part of his mental construct, that he's,
You're right. She sits next to him, and then on top of that, so maybe he himself was like thinking, oh, this is I'm the hot shit here, right, because the hot girl wants to sit next to me, but
then of course she did like him, and they did date.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's like the
go with each other.
Yeah.
Which I thought was
Shut up.
Shut up.
She liked him too.
Yeah, she had a crush on him. We found that out. So what is it?
One thing I did not understand, and I still don't understand, because there's a lot of stuff in this film that I, even upon second and third, fourth, fifth watchings, I don't quite understand. But towards the end, it made it seem like Shut Up Girl and Frank were in the same room. Were they related? Was he like her older brother? Because remember when you're panning past her and you go to her in her room, and there's the drawings of the bunny, and then it goes right to Frank with the bunny suit.
I think it was. I think the way that they shot it was weird because I think you were in the room with her, but then you're all of a sudden in Frank's room, so it didn't. But
the transition is at the bunny pictures. So my question is, did she draw the bunny pictures, or did he draw the bunny pictures? Because he had the bunny suit.
I thought he did the bunny pictures, but you might be right because their transition was so close together that maybe they were related. But I doubt it because I feel like she was an exchange student or something because she sounded,
Yeah, Chen.
Maybe she was drawing the bunny because she was also seeing Frank, and every time she yelled "shut up," she was yelling it at Frank.
Could be.
Maybe.
But
Maybe.
It seemed like Frank himself had kind of had some Asiatic kind of physical characteristics. It was hard to tell.
You mean James Duvall?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think he has, but maybe his character was a little Oriental. I don't know.
Or if she was an exchange student, maybe that was the family she was with.
That's actually probably a good idea too. I don't know. There was no real other than that scene. There was no connection to Frank. She's never in any scenes with Frank,
right,
or anything. Like she's not there when Frank goes to get beer or whatever, things like that. I mean, I don't know. She was just there, sort of like as he was like so nice to her, out of all the people and stuff that were around. He was the one saying, when people are being, go back to China, bitch, and stuff, which is a terrible line. I mean, it's mean, it's nasty, but he's like, come on, leave her alone,
right.
Right? And I like throughout the whole thing, he's actually being very nice to her and sweet to her.
And it wouldn't surprise me if like he kind of knew about this and they had some kind of previous relationship before, because if Frank is seeing his sister, then it's somewhere along the line the families you think would have met somewhere along the line, and she could have gotten a crush on him then.
So you didn't know who Frank was, though. Remember when...
At first, yeah.
Well, no, I mean, even up to the end where he saw Frank, run over his girlfriend and everything, and, and he shot him, he didn't go, oh, man, you're the guy that's dating my, because, that scene where she's like, you remember that teacher, blah, 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 Miss Farmer... my son, my brother said this, and so she's talking on the phone. She's talking to Frank.
Mm.
So there's a lot of Frank.
Oh yeah, Frank is the key to this.
Yeah, he's there a lot, or whatever. But he's, but you don't see him until he takes off his mask in the movie theater for the first time.
But remember, he's an unreliable narrator, so he could have known or seen him the whole time. It's just that he's just either not thinking about him or he never makes the connection until later on.
Maybe.
But remember, you see Frank's car at the very, very beginning after he is sleepwalking and comes back to town. Mm-hmm. That's his car driving right past him.
Yep.
As the foreshadow.
There's lots of foreshadowing in this. Like, there's lots of trying, because it's one of those movies where, like you said, you have to watch 4 or 5 times and you still might not get anything. And you're probably not going to. And I don't think Richard Kelly is going to tell you the full, his full vision for it, even with the director's cut, because because he wants to leave it up to the audience to make up their own decisions, right? Mm-hmm. Which makes it fun. I love just debating that if this was like an alternate reality, if this is God-centered, if this is, whatever, because it's fun to do that.
Yeah, it's kind of like the narrative is trapped in a fishbowl, and it just kind of goes around and around and around. But every now and again, it peeks on the other side and sees that there's another world out there, and somehow the information that it's seeing out there feeds into the story and changes the narrative.
Did we ever find out why Roberta Sparrow kept checking her mailbox?
For his note.
Ooh, maybe that was it. She wow, I never thought about that. But yeah, maybe it was for his note.
It's coming. She's sure.
It's interesting that sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, because she's the time traveler, so you figure at some point she would have gone forward and seen some of this happening and was waiting for the note.
Yeah. Huh. Donnie, when he was in the therapist's office, another prediction he was right about, and he said that Frank was going to kill, is that Frank ran over his girlfriend. But it's interesting. That's the first time that I feel like when he was talking about what Frank was going to do or Frank was saying, that he seemed like really disturbed about it. Like before, he would kind of laugh or kind of like chuckle with it, or just kind of be announcing it. But that time, he seemed really upset about it, almost as if he knew that Frank was going to kill someone that he didn't want to die. But
Right. Huh. There's a lot of shit.
I think it's just a very well directed movie. You know?
Yeah, well
Like, they
done
went
movie.
back-
It's well done.
It's kind of sad that Richard Kelly hasn't really made a movie on this par yet, in my opinion. I watched Southland Tales, kind of got bored with it after a little
Yeah.
while, and I watched a few other stuff, and I'm just like,
Well,
I'm waiting for like something this caliber, and maybe.
how do you top that? that's
Yeah.
that's really, really difficult.
I mean, yeah, and for your first like feature film,
Mhm.
you know, produced by Drew Barrymore, you know, like like, damn, you just blew your wad, man, like on one movie. So like the second one, I mean, he had huge stars. Even Kevin Smith was a huge fan of Donnie Darko.
Sure.
They did a commentary on the director's cut and stuff, which was, I listened to that commentary, and it was more fun because it was more like Kevin Smith, who had nothing to do with it, interviewing Richard Kelly
And,
about the movie.
You know, the thing is that it's not like he has to do that. I mean, he had a story that he wanted to tell. He told it. You know, that doesn't mean you have to have more stories in order to come up with. It's people want you to do that, but you don't have to. You know what I mean?
I don't have to, but like as an artist, you usually want to. You know,
Maybe.
you won't. I think he does. I mean, maybe he doesn't want to do more like this. You know, necessarily, ones that are actually really, unless he has a burning story to tell. You know, some people never have a burning story like that to tell. They have entertainment. You know, right now I haven't had something like I need to get this specific story out. You know, I have stories I like to tell because I'm excited that, you know, people might like them. You know, or whatever.
I feel like some directors just want to like get the audience, just provoke the audience in some way, you know,
Yeah.
not in any specific way. Like I feel like Kubrick did that a lot. His Odyssey movie.
Just the way that you said that he had like certain scenes and things in his head, and that he was able to translate it on film. I mean, to me, that's usually the sign of an artist who has a very specific story and a very specific way of telling the story in mind, and that this is the goal he's going to go for, and this is what he does until it's finally done. And then once it's done, it's done. And then unless you have another one like that, you're just, you know, inventing things for yourself to do until that new muse comes along and gives you something else to do. And you may not ever get one. You know what I mean?
Right. What you were talking about is we discussed this before, I think, the show or whatever, that there was a scene in Donnie Darko where it was done to head over heels, and it was like, it starts off with like this sideways thing, and it goes back to normal, then follows all the people in the school around. You see that one of the kids doing coke, which you were saying, I've never remember any kid ever doing coke in fucking my schools, you know, or whatever. Did you ever see anybody do that?
No, not Coke.
Yeah.
Booze, but yeah.
But anyway, they were, you know, doing that, and they were having all these cool shots. And I remember Richard Kelly talking about in a commentary that he had that when he was writing it, that was his vision. Like, he had a vision.
Sure.
And he was like, that song, I want that song to be in it. Like, that's gonna be the song that like leads everything into, you know, and that's why he said in the 80s, because I guess he liked 80s music. He grew up in it, you know, he liked that kind of music, and he kind of made movies that were, or the music, you know, movies that, you know, had the songs and stuff that he enjoyed.
Right. I mean, you could tell. I mean, he has a vision, and he's an artist, and he got to finally chase it and turn it into, you know, from a vision into something else for the rest of us. It's like, not like the guy who made Hot Dog the movie had a vision of that movie, and he was going to pursue that until it came out. You know what I mean? But
Are you sure about that?
yeah, I'm pretty sure about that. But the thing is, like I said, you know, that's the difference between the artist and the rest of us, is that they have these visions and they're able to pursue it. But you may only get one in your lifetime. In which case, what do? You're fumbling around trying to find something else. So it doesn't surprise me. I mean, there are certain writers and other artists who, they do their one thing and then that's it. And then there's all this pressure for them to come up with new things. But, if there's nothing there, if there's no other vision,
Yep.
you can either make lesser stuff and be cursed with everybody saying it's never going to live up to your original piece, or you pursue something else until you get that back.
Exactly. Which I'm glad. I'm glad this movie got made. I'm glad that it was the it was his vision. It was his dream, probably. To go into kind of he dreamed that he was going to make a fun movie like this, and it was enjoyable. I really like the pop culture stuff, like with Smurfs. You were saying before that that's something that just could not be made today. The discuss today is Smurfette getting...
Not if you want to put it on Netflix.
Smurfette getting into a gangbang with all the other Smurfs or whatever. And that just, what it felt like? Kevin Smith.
Mm-hmm.
And I bet Kevin Smith was a little bit, as far as like some stuff was an influence to him because, he worked with Kevin later or whatever, as I said, and he knew Kevin. So
really, really good soundtrack too. I always like the soundtrack.
And visually very well directed.
Mm-hmm.
So
Good camera work,
yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know much about his background, or the background of the cinematographer. I don't know who the cinematographer was, but it was very well done.
Very well done too. And so the scenes that I like are two of my favorites I've talked about. One was the where he told the lady to stick the card up her anus, or whatever.
Or actually, they make her say it, which is even funnier.
Yeah, well, he didn't make her say it. She said it because she was so mad, and I'll tell you what he said. He said I should put the lifeguards up my anus. And the father's like, that's great. And the father's laughing after, you can tell the mom wanted to laugh, but like she knew the lady, so there's that. And then the Antichrist line, every time I see that, I'm just like, he is a guy that because of in this alternate world, I guess, or whatever it is, alternate reality, because he survived and everything, and it was almost a traumatic experience. Like he could have died, or whatever.
It's funny because the Antichrist line, I immediately think Lars von Trier and his Antichrist, which has also similar ways of messing with the narrative, and it's we'll have to get you to watch that sometime. It's pretty awesome.
I think if we do that show with Kate, I'll watch it. But other than that, anyway, so the Antichrist line and the fact that Patrick, we didn't even talk about him.
Patrick Swayze playing the sleazy life coach thing.
Yeah, which I mean, there were people like that back then,
sure.
like that were self-help gurus.
Still now,
yeah.
The two I'm thinking of is in Magnolia. You've got Tom Cruise playing one.
That's a great movie.
One of his my favorite Tom Cruise role, and then the juice guy in what's that movie that I love? Come on, brain. The guy who did Pie.
Was it Memento?
No.
He did. Yeah.
And he did The Fountain.
Oh, no. I'm not. I was thinking about the different. No. Darren Aronofsky.
Yeah.
So what did he do
in the drug movie that he did?
Oh, Requiem for a Dream.
Requiem for a Dream. Yeah, the guy is juice.
Probably Jared Leto's best role ever, and probably
that was a great movie too.
But yeah, it's a hard movie to watch. And I'll admit that.
I like that. Movies that make you think, that make you work. That's great. I mean, I know that there are people and there are times when you just want to turn your brain on and just have some popcorn and that's it. But, any movie that really forces you to think and feel and react and then talk about stuff later, that's great. That's a movie doing its job. That's more than being a movie. That's when you go into the realm of being a piece of art.
fear is on the negative spectrum and love is on the positive. Well, duh. Like that line just always. I said it right before they said it because that line just always cracks me up.
Yeah.
You were like, and then you thought I just said it, or whatever. Like
Right.
I knew that line was coming,
Duh.
because I think it's so funny because it's like such a funny thing is like I get Donnie's point of view, but I also sort of get what this lady's trying to say, and I even said to you guys that I would have been like what is Sharita or whatever, the Sharita Chen. I would have walked up and just
Shut
did
up.
it. I wouldn't have told her, and I would have wanted to be like that guy who got suspended for telling the teacher to stick it up her anus. But I wouldn't have done that because I would have been, kind of too afraid
You
to
were on the
authority.
fears part of the spectrum.
Well, I guess that she put me into the fear part of the spectrum.
Yeah.
She would have put me in there because I would have been afraid to do it. And, which I guess, does that mean that Donnie was in part of love?
Well, Donnie was right. You can't just take everything and squash it into either or. It's
So he was in the middle, like you were saying. There's
Yeah.
more than just...
it's a
He would have
false,
just erased the line.
it's a false dichotomy. The world doesn't get boiled down into black and white, one or the other. That's just not the way it works.
Yeah, I mean, but it sort of made sense for those specific cards, though, right?
Sure, that's why they're written that way.
Well, right, but what I'm saying is, like, that makes sense. Like, yeah, okay, I can see fear and this, right? And then I could see if they had one about love, like somebody was being very sweet to somebody else or something, you know what I mean? Then I could go, okay, that would be love,
Yeah,
right?
there's definitely major themes to life.
Yeah. And I think that's, and it was throughout the film, too. Anyway, there's
Sure.
fear and there was love. He had the love of his family who were really trying to get him help. There's the love of the psychiatrist who was trying to help him. There was the girl that was helping him and loved him.
I don't know that the psychiatrist was doing it out of love. They're paying her.
Yeah, but she cared, it seemed. Like, she really wanted him to get help and
Well,
get...
she cared in a professional kind of way. I mean, she's required, to alert somebody if they're talking about their alter ego killing people.
I don't know.
I'd say everybody gets paid, for their work, and so if she's choosing to get paid to help, then it's probably at least more out of love than if she chose to get paid to go fuck people over.
That's true. My biggest thing is that when she hypnotizes him and then he's freaking out about the bunny and everything, and then they hug each other kind of thing, like he's doing that, she really cared. Like, you could tell she really wanted him to get get through this.
And that's also crossing a line. You're not supposed to really be touching your therapist.
Well, yeah. Or putting your hands down your pants when
Yeah.
you're being hypnotized.
Yeah.
Talk about Married with Children. That was a great scene though, because
I wonder how Christina Applegate feels when she sees this film.
No.
she's probably like, I get that all the time.
And meanwhile, what's his name? The father's like, oh, nobody ever says that about me.
Ed O'Neill.
Ed O'Neill.
No, actually, everybody loves Al Bundy. More than anything else. He always gets all the praise.
Well,
You
that's
know who
'cause
doesn't get all the praise?
He gets to say the things that nobody else
Bud.
gets to.
Bud never gets any praise.
Yeah, that's
Poor Bud. The brother. Have you seen Married with Children?
I don't think so.
Oh my God! Yeah, we got a youngin' here. Who? Wow.
Yeah, it gets old pretty quickly.
Okay.
But the first season's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch it, you might. It still probably is funny today. It's kind of like that show Roseanne. Yeah, it's kind of like that, where it's just sort of
Yeah, Al
it's
Bundy's
funny.
one of those characters who gets to say the things we all wish we could.
Yeah, and
Pretty
everything.
much.
Yeah, so, and he's a shoe salesman
And he suffers
Okay.
because of it.
for being a shoe salesman. So anyway, yeah. So to go back to Donnie Darko, there was that thing where like there's so much to go in. Like, he ends up burning down that guy's house. Now, in the alternate world that that the thing fell on him and everything, nobody will ever know he's a kiddie porn guy.
Or at least not yet.
Not yet, but no,
But then you got to think, is that really happening, or is that just, him projecting that or creating that because he doesn't like him. How much of it is real and how much of it is him informing it or creating it himself.
Well, no, because you see at the end, you see him, that guy, right, and everything, and he's just sitting in his house.
He's
Sobbing. Which means, I bet he feels guilty for the shit he does or whatever, but,
And also that his life coach shit doesn't work for him.
Yeah, it's true. Because obviously, if he's still doing really fucked up shit like that, or
well, just that he's sobbing alone in his house, and then he goes out and preaches how to be exuberantly happy to everyone else, and then when he's alone, he's sobbing.
It's true.
Yeah, I think that's more along the line. I don't know that he's sobbing over the kiddie porn stuff or getting away with it. Who the hell knows? It's hard to tell. But I mean, it's a very big clue. It's like the Graham Greene story. The stuff that happens kind of happens in the plot, and then the woman even talks about that. Well, is that because he read the story and it fed into his delusion?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, maybe.
He did seem a little overexcited when the group of the young girls, the dance routine was coming out for the talent show.
Yeah.
So there's little moments in the whole movie where you can just add up evidence for any particular point.
Because what other reason would it be for him to go in to do what he does to the water supply, the water main?
Well, he did that because he didn't want to go to school, I guess, but also Frank told him to. And they have that thing where it's like, they made me do it. Well, which makes me wonder, who is they necessarily? Because there's only Frank.
Right.
So is there more?
I don't know.
Is there more shit?
Maybe Graham Greene was telling him too by reading the story. Who knows?
Yeah.
There's a lot to unpack, and it's a difficult thing. You have to watch this movie several times. Like I said, it's been a while.
Several times will make you go, I don't know if I, if I fully get this. And that's
okay.
No, that's fantastic. I love that. I love movies where it's ambiguous, as you said. There is no right or wrong answer. You saying one thing is your idea of what it is. Me saying another thing, Joe saying another thing, and you not even being able to be sure, yet, what your idea is. I mean, it's wonderful. Movies don't get made like this that much,
Not anymore.
Most movies are, there's a beginning, a middle, and end. There's a formula to it, and you have to know. You know who I think probably loved this movie? And we talked about this on other podcasts, but Tarantino.
Oh, yeah.
Tarantino must have loved stuff like this because, it gives you a chance to think about what the fuck's going on, and it also is completely, the narrative is non-linear in a way. Even though it's very straightforward of each day, it's very you are still confused what's going on.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of the guy who made Irreversible and Into the Void, where he's taking narrative and playing with it. The movie's not about the plot. It's about how you take the narrative and take it apart and make it do things that you're not expecting.
Yeah.
I can never remember people's names, but yeah.
The director of I don't know that. I've heard of the movie, and I heard that there's a pretty cringy, really
tremendously good. That and Into the Void. We're going to do Into the Void at some point. Get you to watch that.
Maybe. I mean, I'm sure we will sometime. There's a lot of movies we haven't done on Film Freaks yet that we both love.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing. That's why we created the shows, because this is a film that I've watched this movie so much, and usually I mean, after a while, of watching this, if I'm watching it by myself, which I watch sometimes by myself because I just enjoy it. I'm really watching it for some of the certain scenes, but when I watch it with friends, it's really nice because then you can talk about it.
It's the kind of movie, you're going to love this, but it's the kind of movie that I wish I had, sat down and watched this with Ed Wood. Just so he could just be like, and it would just totally open up his mind as to what you could do with a story that probably never, ever, ever occurred to him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but then again, Ed Wood made what would normally now be popcorn movies, or whatever. He made movies that were just, silly and fun. Then he made porn, but that's a different story. Well, I mean, you got to make a living somehow.
Got to make a living.
Yeah, but it was, it's one. We keep talking about these people that you probably have never heard of.
That's all right. Now I know.
Yeah, now you'll know, and trust me, you'll know. If you keep coming back here, you'll learn.
You will appreciate Ed Wood in your time. Trust me.
Yes. But this movie, I don't know. It's just still to this day, it's my favorite Jake Gyllenhaal movie. Like, period. After this movie, as I said, he did the movie The Good Girl. I don't know if you ever saw that.
Mm-hmm.
That movie is really fucked up and weird, and makes his character from Donnie Darko look even creepier. Makes his character that he's in Good Girl really creepier. Like, he went nuts in that. So I definitely recommend it. It's written by Mike White, who wrote Chuck and Buck. Have you ever seen that?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I gotta start introducing you some of these shit. Then I think both of them are technically indies, so we could do them for Indie Film Cafe at some point. Even though Jennifer Aniston is in The Good Girl, but it is not her. It's not Friends, at all. Which I like. I like when actors go off and do something that's unlike the stuff that they're most popular for.
Mm-hmm.
Because it shows range. Just like you said, Tom Cruise in Magnolia.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10, I can't stand Tom Cruise, but he was dynamite in Magnolia.
Well, he's dynamite in certain movies and stuff where he gets to play something that's not Ethan Hunt from Mission Impossible or Jack Reacher or whatever his next, Top Gun.
Top Gun, but yeah.
I like the original Top Gun. I'm not.
I like Risky Business.
Risky Business was fun. He had a good career, and Jake Gyllenhaal is he grew up with Stephen Gyllenhaal was his father, who's a director,
right.
And stuff. So they're a whole family.
Yeah, don't forget Maggie.
Maggie. Oh, and you loved her in this.
I love Maggie.
You love her in everything.
Yeah.
She's
a really good actress.
Yeah, and she's very picky on what she does too, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like she generally chooses to do movies
If you ever saw the HBO show The Deuce, she was in that, and she was really, really good in that.
Yeah, my brother liked that movie, that show. He also liked True Detective, which you mentioned.
Oh, True Detective is so good.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, there's so many great things out there. I'm excited to see sort of what you bring in next. Was there anything else we needed to, touch upon on this? Was there was so much that happened.
We hit on pretty much everything other than, like we pointed out, the California trying to pass for Virginia.
Yeah.
That was a little...
Well, it's supposed to be Middlesex, Virginia.
I know.
And that's, it's funny because I think that's where Richard Kelly grew up, so you just wanted to write, his hometown, write what you know. I don't know if he knows about...
Much nicer than the place, but that's okay,
Oh, yeah, and the mountains, I mean, there's mountains in California, and there's mountains in, Virginia.
California ones are much larger,
They could have shot in Charlottesville or something, but I'm guessing it was more of a... Since they were shooting and having LA people, it's just easier.
Easier and cheaper, probably.
Easier and cheaper, but it looked good. You said the housing probably wasn't the houses that Virginia would have, but you did notice that the production design made it look like 80s stuff, and that always helps, especially on an indie film, that you actually have everything. If you're going to do a period piece.
Notice details like that.
Well, it's you have to be very careful because even if there's a slight little thing they wouldn't have that in '88,
right.
And it's going to take you out of the movie, so.
But otherwise, yeah, I think we've pretty much hit everything. Yeah, it was really, really good. I recommend it. And it looks like the Arrow Blu-ray package comes with all kinds of goodies.
Let me point this out. So, it comes with a brand new 4K of the theatrical cut from the optional camera negative produced by Arrow Films, exclusively for this release, and supervised and approved by director Richard Kelly and cinematographer Stephen Poster.
Okay.
That's his name. So, Stephen Poster, we love you. Thank
Good job.
You. High definition Blu-ray 1080p presentation, original 5.1 audio, blah, 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 audio commentary by writer director Richard Kelly and actor Jake Gyllenhaal.
And have you heard it?
I heard it a while back, and I need to re-listen to it. But I remember them talking about some like technical stuff, like
Sure.
you know things like that. I don't think they really got into the story and what and I don't think he wanted to do that ever because he wanted people to leave it ambiguous. Audio commentary by Kelly and cast and crew as well. Deus Ex Machina: The Philosophy of Donnie Darko, a brand new documentary containing interviews with Kelly, producer Sean McKittrick, director of photography Stephen Poster, and editor Sam Bauer. The composer, the guy who did the music, was Michael Edwards, was wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
That also the costume designer. I mean, costumes seemed like I mean,
you wanted the bunny suit.
The bunny suit was amazing. I don't know if she did the bunny suit. I'm guessing.
Bunny.
Yeah, I want that for Halloween this year, but I'm not tall enough to be Frank. That's the sad thing.
True.
Frank was. I mean, even though was James Duvall really that tall? I thought he was kind of short.
They did say it was a giant bunny.
Yep.
What?
They did say it was a giant bunny.
It was a giant bunny. Then let's see. So a bunch of people and actor James Duvall does an interview. The Goodbye Place, Kelly's 1996 short film, which I think we'll do on Short Film Saturday at some point. Let's see, 20 deleted scenes and alternate scenes with optional commentary. So you can see sort of alternate takes or deleted.
Trying to think of the movie. I think it was James Stewart who sees a bunny.
Oh yeah, that's Harvey.
Harvey, yeah. It's an interesting companion piece.
Yeah.
You think there would be a double feature right there?
There would be an interesting
Harvey
double feature.
and Donnie Darko.
The sort of like light and dark copies of each other, sort of.
Maybe you can combine them one day and make Harvey Darko.
Harvey Darko.
Harvey Darko.
There was a sequel, as I said to you, which you didn't even know.
No, I didn't know about
And
it.
you didn't know about it either, right? S. Darko is what it's called. It's Samantha Darko. I don't think it's as good and nearly as good. It was not. I don't think it was written by Richard. I could be wrong, but I don't think it was. It might have been written by. I don't think it was directed by him. I'm pretty sure. So it was just like the company was just like, hey, we've got Donnie Darko. Let's make it in. I believe, if I'm correct, they do still use the same girl, DeVay Chase, but she's like older now. She got famous after Donnie Darko for being in a little movie called The Ring, where she was the little girl with the hair walking around coming out of the TV and shit. So it's funny how like her life kind of went from Donnie Darko to The Ring to I don't know what she's doing.
In a way, I'm kind of glad that nothing else really came after that, because I think Donnie Darko is a story that is complete in and of itself.
Right.
We don't need more than that.
Yeah, I mean, if it explores sort of Samantha Darko, and I think that's S. Darko, Samantha Darko, and what her character does, like she's still part of Sparkle Motion, it's questions, like,
yeah, no, there's in its own weird way, it has its own continuity, and the story comes to a close.
Well, I'm just saying there is. So I don't know what happens in that. So I wonder if they do explain things that they probably shouldn't.
Well, she probably finds out what feces are, and that they're not baby mice.
Aww. That was so great. Oh Lord, there's so many great lines in this movie too. Just like so many fucked up things too. Like when he mentions, didn't your Seth? Oh, we forgot to mention Seth Rogen
Yeah.
being in the movie.
Being a jerk.
Being a jerk with Alex Greenwald, who was on the band Phantom Planet, and he was not an actor, and I guess he just kind of tried out or whatever, and then I don't think he was an actor. And then after this movie, he or maybe around the same time, he was doing Phantom Planet, and that became this big huge hit with Jason Schwartzman from Rushmore, which is also a movie that sort of around this time got sort of famous and everything. I think done around that time, and fantastic. I love Jason Schwartzman. I think his characters are always just so assholey and great. So I would love to meet him one day. But yeah, was it Alex Greenwald? But Seth Rogen playing a dick. You don't really. don't see that anymore. You know, he's usually the nice guy.
Wasn't he kind of like that in Freaks and Geeks, or am I remembering that wrong?
He was. You're right.
Right?
So maybe that's how he got this role. Was he was kind of his character was sort of. He was sort of he was a dick. Yeah.
It's like 10 years ago, before this was made, it would have been the role that Jack Black would have played.
Maybe. Wait. Yeah, because he was an Airborne in '90s, in the early '90s and stuff. He was kind of playing the bully, dick, kind of character. But I don't know. It's funny. Seth Rogen went on to kind of become more famous than almost anybody in that group. Even he's kind of more famous than Jake Gyllenhaal. So good for him. Hang out with Judd Apatow, and that's really what happens. But yeah, that was the. So there's so many great people. Jenna Malone, we mentioned. Patrick Swayze. Drew Barrymore.
Love Drew Barrymore.
You said the mom was in Battlestar Galactica?
Yeah, again, I can't think of names.
Yeah, her name's like Mary McDonald.
Mary McDonald, yeah. And she was Dances with Wolves, of course.
Yeah, so she was wonderful. And then Holmes Osborne, I believe, was the father. And so, so there's a fantastic cast. Like, everybody is just phenomenal in this movie. And there's... I could see anybody, like, being happy with the character that they have, Like, oh, I get to do this. I get to do that. That's so cool. Like, even the lady who played the teacher that nobody liked, she's been in a bunch of stuff. And I see her pop up in all these movies.
Mostly as that role, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and that kind of, like, bitchy kind of role.
Karen.
Yeah.
Professional Karen.
She's a type actor.
Sometimes I doubt your commitment to sparkle motion. Like, okay, lady, chill out. That's not the end of the world, man.
Well,
Donnie
it was.
Yeah, it was the end of the world for him. But for everybody else, and, for everybody else, they lived. He got to... And that was the thing. It was the end of the world. When is the world going to end? For him. It didn't say when the world's going to end for everybody else. It was... When was the world going to end for him? And it was that time. And it happened. He went back in time into this other reality, and he realized,
and he
I'm
died
happy.
alone, and it was okay.
He died alone, and he was not fearful anymore. He did it out of love. So all the stuff, everything, cellar door, which was obviously just there for... I believe that line was somebody, that line of... the famous linguist once said, and they didn't know who said it, but Richard Kelly remembered that, and so he put that into the thing because there's going to be a cellar door that they were going to have to go through in order to get to get attacked and all this stuff happen. Once again, everything that happens in this alternate reality pushes the story along to Donnie figuring out how to make that happen. But what if Donnie was just like, nah, never mind. I don't really feel like doing all this stuff. And, like, I don't feel like saving the world. And I'm happy with this relationship and, all this stuff.
Well, the ghost of the ninja would have forced him to do it.
From Ninja 3?
Yeah, Ninja 3 Domination.
Which we'll be doing for What the Fuck Friday coming up. So get ready for that shit. All right. Well, thank you guys for checking this out. I think that's it.
That's it.
Did you have anything more you wanted to add? All right. Have you still not figured out your take on it? Yeah.
I don't know. I think maybe I'm thinking that maybe my idea is that all of it's true in the sense that he is a paranoid schizophrenic that's hallucinating, and he is hallucinating facts in the future, and the story, like the reality lines up with things that are found, like within the book where he went and did the water main line and burning down the house just like it was in the book. Just that happened to line up, but that all of it is like that you don't have to pick one or the other.
Oh.
All of it does just go together, and it all happened exactly as they showed it.
Huh.
But I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. Maybe
Richard Kelly, if you're watching us, please give us a.
He's back there laughing. These guys don't know what they're talking about.
These guys have no clue what I wrote.
And neither do I.
Maybe he doesn't. I mean, and you know what?
It's
Hey,
okay.
That's okay. You made Richard Kelly. You made a fantastic film, and we love you.
Yeah.
So come back to Virginia. hang out with us.
The movie's like a marvelous little puzzle box.
Come on one of our shows and hang out with us.
Meet the cow.
Meet the cow. We love you. All right. Hope you guys enjoy it. Join us next month where Paul will be picking the movie for us to watch, and we will let you know what we are checking out later because I have no idea. I don't think you even know, but I think you have some ideas of what you want to show.
Always have ideas. I've got my lists.
Yep. So thank you guys for checking this out, and have a good one. Bye.
It was funny. We one of the film freaks we did was a movie that I had picked called what was it? What was the one with Charlton Heston? The Warlord. It was
the Warlord.
Yeah, it was set in the 10th century, so it was all Vikings fighting Franks. And we're all around with swords and shields and shit. So we had a whole bunch of swords and we were in axes and we were like using them for the video. It was fun.
That's awesome.
We don't have any of that here because there's no axes and we don't even have a giant bunny. Damn it.
Yet. But we got a stuffed cow, so
that'll have to do.
That helps. Shut up!
Shut up!
Go suck a fuck.